For a considerable duration, Lena devoted every aspect of her life to the care of her incapacitated husband. However, a pivotal moment arrived when Maxime inadvertently left his mobile device in the kitchen. An accidental activation of a voice recording intended for his mother left Lena utterly aghast and visibly distressed by its content. Before we proceed further, please share the country from which you are viewing this video. Additionally, kindly confirm your subscription to our channel, as we regularly present compelling life narratives. We trust you will find this engaging. She could barely maintain her balance as she exited the premises of the cosmetics firm. The demanding workday had completely drained her. Subsequent product evaluations, the development of novel formulations, and incessant negotiations with suppliers all fell upon her shoulders, a burden she had long since grown accustomed to. She ambled towards the bus stop, her mind mechanically ticking off the days until her next salary disbursement. Her usual preoccupations occupied her thoughts: the mortgage payments, her daughter Maxime. Lena let out a weary sigh. Her husband, once a man of vigor and cheerfulness, was now a mere shadow of his former self after illness had led to his job loss. The entire family's well-being rested squarely on her. Initially, she held on to the belief that this was a temporary situation, that he would overcome it and find some avenue to engage in meaningful activity. Yet, as the years rolled by, nothing changed. She slowly made her way back to her apartment building and entered her home. And pervasive quiet permeated the dwelling. Maxime, in his usual fashion, was reclined in the living area, his gaze fixed on the television screen. "Hello," she greeted him, shedding her coat. He replied, without so much as a glance in her direction. "Just another uneventful evening as always," she mused internally. Lena began preparing the kettle, her mind drifting back in time. There was a period when Maxime was a completely different individual. He had commenced his career immediately after completing his education, foregoing extensive studies. Straight from secondary school, he enrolled in vocational training, qualified as a driver, and secured employment at a bus depot. His initial assignments involved local routes, but he later obtained the necessary certification for long-distance travel. He genuinely relished this profession. The ever-changing scenery of the roads, the new cities he visited, all contributed to his satisfaction. However, his body could not withstand the cumulative effects of years of sedentary work. The incessant vibrations, an inconsistent diet, and persistent inflammation ultimately manifested in the first alarming health issues. At the age of 38, he was admitted to the hospital with severe lumbar pain. Subsequently, he experienced a cardiac episode. Medical professionals strongly advised a career change, but Maxime remained obstinate. He found even basic mobility increasingly painful. It was at this juncture that his mother, Natalia Ivanovna, a woman holding a significant position within the social welfare system, intervened and secured him a disability status. Lena accepted this development as an unchangeable reality. She genuinely believed he was physically incapable of employment, given Maxime's persistent complaints of discomfort when sitting, walking, or even standing for extended periods. From that point forward, she assumed all responsibilities. Natalia Ivanovna possessed a formidable personality. Her life had been largely dedicated to her son's well-being, and she now felt it was Lena's duty to continue this devotion. "You aren't looking after Max properly," she would frequently admonish Lena. "He requires constant support." Lena refrained from arguing, though inwardly she felt a profound sense of despondency. She continued to provide for him. Her daily routine involved working, settling bills, ensuring sustenance, procuring medication, and managing the mortgage. Meanwhile, Maxime's existence consisted solely of lamentations about his circumstances, a perspective his mother-in-law found entirely unconvincing. "You understand how challenging this is for him emotionally," she would often remind Lena, adding, "You should at least make more effort to cook something delicious, rather than your quick meals." Lena clenched her teeth, as if she had ample leisure for culinary creations after her mother-in-law had facilitated her husband's disability status. He had completely disengaged from all aspects of life, showing no interest in seeking employment or any other pursuits, confining himself to complaints. His mother-in-law consistently reiterated, "He is disabled. You must support him. You are his wife, alongside another woman." Did you notice that Maxime made no attempt whatsoever to explore remote work opportunities? His daily routine consisted of a doctor-prescribed solitary stroll for an hour and a half to 2 hours, after which he would retreat to the sofa and resume watching television. Lena had become accustomed to operating in a constant state of survival. Day in and day out, she would rise early, head to her workplace, and return home in the evening to an unending list of household duties. One day, several years prior, Viktor Petrovich, her supervisor at the manufacturing facility, mentioned an annual corporate voucher for a sanatorium, awarded to the most outstanding employees. Lena, you need to take some time to rest. Your performance is consistently excellent. Seize this opportunity for yourself, he urged, presenting her with a document detailing the available resort options. Lena briefly scanned the papers but promptly returned them. A vacation seemed like a distant, unattainable luxury for her. She couldn't possibly afford to relax with Maxime at home, utterly dependent on her. However, an alternative idea then surfaced in her mind. Could this voucher be allocated to my husband? She inquired. Viktor Petrovich looked up, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Lena nodded, her eyebrows raised, explaining that Maxime suffered from significant health issues and that a stay at the sanatorium would greatly aid his recovery. Thus, a pattern emerged. Almost annually, she requested that Maxim be sent to the sanatorium rather than herself. He would depart for treatment, and deep down, she harbored the hope that it would yield positive results, that these retreats would improve his condition and enable him to secure at least a part-time job. However, upon each return, the same cycle repeated. Maxime would express his displeasure, deeming the sanatorium a futile endeavor, claiming no improvement. The medical professionals could only offer shrugging shoulders. He would return to his sofa, resuming his complaints about life, an existence Lena found herself profoundly envious of, yet she persisted in maintaining her hope. On one particular workday, Viktor Petrovich summoned Lena to his office. He was in excellent spirits and immediately informed her of an exceptional prospect, a 3-month business trip to Paris at a leading cosmetics establishment, with all accommodation expenses covered, a generous salary, and, most significantly, the possibility of bringing their daughter, Dasha, along by arranging her enrollment in a school affiliated with the embassy. Lena listened, but instead of elation, a sense of unease began to surface within her. She recognized this as a golden opportunity, a path to unprecedented professional growth for any specialist in her field, offering a gateway to a new chapter in her life. Yet Maxime immediately came to mind. He couldn't manage without her. He wasn't working. He couldn't even purchase his own groceries. Who would attend to his needs? The answer was undeniably clear. Lena declined the offer, and an immediate heaviness settled upon her soul. She knew she was making the responsible choice, yet it brought no sense of solace. She departed the office and paused by the window, gazing out at the somber, cloud-shrouded cityscape. Somewhere in the distance, another world beckoned, filled with different possibilities, but that chance was not for her. There was no room for self-indulgence. She could not abandon Maxime. She felt she had no right to do so. But one fateful day, Lena's life was irrevocably transformed. She returned home in the middle of the afternoon. No sooner had Lena removed her coat than Maxime emerged from the room. A delivery person had arrived with Dasha's headphones. "They're waiting downstairs," he informed her. Lena responded with a perfunctory nod, but Maxime was already reaching for his jacket. "I'll go down myself." He slipped it on and headed out the door, making his way towards the elevator. Lena proceeded to the kitchen. A formidable stack of dishes awaited her in the sink. Her daughter had been in a rush to get to school that morning. Maxime had eaten his lunch, but predictably he had made no effort to clean up afterward. Lena picked up a sponge and turned on the tap, but the water pressure was excessive, sending splashes in every direction. A few droplets landed on the screen of Maxime's phone, which was situated beside the sink. The touch sensor reacted. At that precise moment, the phone vibrated, and a voice message from Natalia Ivanovna began to play. Lena had no intention of listening, but as she shifted the device, she heard, "Where are you rushing off to? I really don't like this idea of yours about Svetlana moving into your house, but I understand. It's not good for you." Lena froze. Svetlana. What else could there be? Her heart pounded in her chest. her fingers suspended above the soapy water. She slowly turned her head towards the phone. 2 days prior had been Maxim's birthday, and she had gifted him this new smartphone. If her memory served her correctly, she recalled the notification about Mago blocking. She picked up the phone and opened the messaging application. Lena scrolled back through their conversation and began listening to the earlier messages. The first recording was from Maxim, made that very morning. "Mom, Svetochka is such a wonderful girl. I've completely fallen for her. I want her to live with me. I'm already done. Lena told me she turned down the trip to Paris, but I'll do everything I can to convince her that this is our chance and a boost for her career. In short, she'll also be grateful to me for insisting that she think of herself and not just worry about me." Lena sank onto a stool, her fingers feeling unnervingly cold. The subsequent message was from her mother-in-law. "Maxim, you know how much I dislike your wife, but you must realize that if Lena discovers you've brought another woman into your home while she's away on a business trip, it will be the end of everything for you." A voice response from Maxim followed. "Mom, why do you always make things worse? Neither she nor I interact with the neighbors. We'll live peacefully in the apartment and my wife will be fine. She'll send us money from France." Well, as for us, it's clear to me, but in reality, for Svetochka and me, it's just some cosmic irony of fate. Maxim let out a sound that was a mixture of horror and laughter. Then came another voice message, this time from Natalia Ivanovna. "What an imbecile. You can't hide a secret forever. When Lena finds out, you'll be left with nothing. Do you truly believe they'll extend your disability next year? It's not a guarantee that I'll be able to manage it, and then you'll have to find work. Lena believes you are genuinely incapacitated, unaware that it's thanks to me you're alive and not working." Dasha knows. A message from Masya. "Well, screw her. I'll claim half the apartment and then file for alimony. After all, I'm disabled. Let her work harder to provide for my daughter, myself, and Svetoch." Maxim's voice was confident, his tone remarkably calm, as if the fate of his family was of no consequence, and his usual daily routine. The last message was the one that had initiated this cascade of events. Lena leaned back, feeling the very ground give way beneath her. Everything she had believed in crumbled within mere minutes. She left the kitchen, oblivious to the tremor in her hands. Her entire existence had, in an instant, transformed into a profound deception. She'd assumed Maxim was incapable of working, when in reality, he simply had no desire to. She had believed he was grateful for her unwavering support, yet he harbored a desire to be rid of her, leaving her burdened with debt and draining her resources. She had thought she possessed a family, but in truth, she was merely a means to their ends. Grabbing her phone, she fled the apartment. Descending the stairs, she located Viktor Petrovich's number in her call history and with trembling fingers initiated the call. "Lena, has something happened?" His voice conveyed a note of concern. She took a deep breath and responded, "I accept." "I'm going to Paris," he replied without any further questions, his tone conveying genuine pleasure. "We'll finalize the paperwork tomorrow." Lena ended the call, feeling an internal shift. She would no longer be a martyr to her own self-sacrifice. Working within the cosmetics industry proved to be an inspiring experience, opening up a continuous stream of new opportunities. Her daughter, Dasha, quickly acclimated to the school at the embassy, forging friendships and embracing life with enthusiasm. Additionally, there was a nearby Vitro Ferris wheel, though their connection to it was not yet established. She saw in Victor not just a boss, but a man who truly understood her, calm, dependable, and supportive. 2 months after relocating, he proposed. However, one matter remained unresolved. Lena initiated divorce proceedings through her legal representative. Maxim, as anticipated, offered resistance, demanding his rightful share of the apartment and asserting his status as a disabled individual unable to be left without accommodation. His conviction wavered, however, when the lawyer politely informed him that any legal proceedings would necessitate an examination into the legitimacy of his disability status. Maxim made a final attempt at defiance, but Natalia Ivanovna grasped the gravity of the situation. She had previously understood that if the matter escalated to an inquiry, The consequences could be dire for both of them. "Sign this if you don't want us to end up in prison together," she commanded her son, her teeth gritted in a grimace. The trial concluded in Maxim's disfavor. Lena's attorney presented compelling evidence demonstrating that she alone had been responsible for all mortgage payments over the years. The court ordered Maxim to settle the outstanding debt. Given his claim to a share of the apartment, Maxim harbored hopes until the very end that following the division of funds, he would have something left to begin a new life. However, when it transpired that nearly his entire portion was allocated to clearing the bank's debt, Lena departed for France once more, leaving him with nothing. Maxime remained bewildered by this turn of events until recently. He had once possessed a comfortable home, a wife who cared for him, and a sense of future security. Now he stood at his mother's doorstep, Natalia Ivanovna opening the door. He held a meager suitcase filled with his belongings. She regarded him from head to toe before silently turning and disappearing into the depths of the apartment. "Mom, I have nowhere to live," he murmured, following her inside. "Those are your problems," she stated abruptly, turning on the television. "I thought you would help." "I already helped you." Her voice was cold, almost alien, "and you squandered everything." Maxime slowly sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. A ringing persisted in his ears. There was a time when he was the central figure in his mother's life, her pride, her ambition. She had actively facilitated his life choices, his aspirations, and his achievements. But now, he had become a burden even to her. With no employment and no financial resources, he took a position at a construction site, undertaking strenuous physical labor that he had once disdained. His health had genuinely deteriorated. The pain in his back had become unbearable, yet he could not cease working for fear of starving. In the evenings, he would retreat to a cramped room within his mother's apartment. She did not even leave him food. Their conversations were sparse and infrequent. He was no longer her source of pride, and at this very moment, Lena was experiencing a truly revitalized existence as she resettled in Paris. She still carried the weight of past experiences, but with each passing day, she felt a gradual release from the burden of her history. For the first time in many years, she was free from the obligation of caring for anyone else. Who was this person beside her? Victor, a man of quiet attentiveness and steadfast reliability. He did not impose on her, nor did he rush her. He was simply present. He invited her for strolls through the city as dusk settled, revealing charming side streets and cozy cafes, serving rich hot chocolate infused with vanilla. There was an effortless comfort in his company. Previously, she had been skeptical of miracles, unconvinced that a fresh start was possible. But now, gazing into his eyes, she knew she had finally made the correct decision. What actions would you take if you were in Lena's predicament? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Your perspective is incredibly valuable to us. Thank you for listening. We will see you tomorrow.